Hello, this is Paul Alster at Sportsbet TV, and I'm looking forward to some great racing on Saturday, the 4th of December. It's a real bonanza for jump racing fans with outstanding meetings in Britain and Ireland. Now, as always, I will say to those that are joining us for the first time, please press the subscribe button just below the screen so you're able to follow all the tips going forward. And this is a service where we're looking really for horses that are available at each way odds. Some of them are very big odds. And because of that, when you're tipping big prices, you tend to go through spells of quiet time and not having much success before you hit the target. And that's been very much the way things have gone over the last month. November was a very poor month for us. It was very quiet, no two ways of dressing it up. And an overall loss on the month to the £10 each way stakes, £201 down. But since the start of year two, which was on July the 10th of this service, overall thus far in 2021, in the second half of the year, we have a profit of £608. And that means that overall, since we started in July 2020, very nearly £2,500 profit to the level £10 each way stake. So really, that is something to be very, very proud of. And I hope many of you that are joining us on a regular basis will have seen at least some of those profits when you've decided to jump on and we've hit the target at very big odds. Last week, Sal was a non-runner. Spirit of the Game did not run well. He's been disappointing. I thought the Hollow Ginge was going really well, turning in the Hennessy, in the Ladbroke at Newbury. And having stayed on well last year, I was very optimistic he'd finish at least in the first 4 or 5, but he got tired. It surprised me. Eventually finished about 8th or 9th. On the Sunday, we had a recommendation last week in Ireland, Midnight Run, and he was going well. And I was on very good terms with myself, going towards the third last with Rachel Blackmore on board. When he took a heavy fall, it was a surprise. He jumped well to that point. I'm pretty convinced he would have been right involved at the finish, but that's just the way things went in November. Things just didn't go our way. So we draw a line under that, and we're going to move on with 4 selections this week across the meetings at Navan, Aintree and Sandown. Now, not so very many months ago, I started tipping at freebets.com, also on the YouTube channel, where I'm looking more towards the head of the market. If you want to check out my selections for this Saturday, do take a look, because I'm in red hot form, actually, on that service, with 7 of the last 11 winners, runners having won. So it's a marvellous strike rate, and it's a real purple patch there. Those are the horses more towards the head of the market. But now for the first of our each way selections here at Sportsbet for the 4th of December. And my first choice is in Ireland at Navan. Those that follow me week in, week out will know I keep a very close eye on the Irish racing. And there's a really hot race at Navan at 1:08. It is a 3-mile handicap hurdle, 23 runners. So I'm not making life easy for myself here. Good ground, and a prize fund here of €100,000, so a serious prize. Lots of horses, I'm sure, have been laid out for this race, and the Irish know how to get them ready. And to make matters even more complicated, Gordon Elliott runs 7, Willie Mullins has 4, JP McManus has 3, and the Jigginstown House Stud also have 3. So really, really complicating matters. The favourite at the time of this recording, just early on Friday lunchtime, is Burning Victory for Willie Mullins at around 9-2. You remember this one picking up the pieces in the 2020 Triumph Hurdle where it won. Then it missed a year when a couple of staying handicaps on the flat in France, and then finished second in the Cesarewitch to Buzz in October at Newmarket. Now, of course, that form has really been franked by Buzz doing so well. Indeed, I tipped him at free bets last time, winning the Coral Hurdle. So Burning Victory, interesting, but trying 3 miles over jumps for the first time. Willie Mullins also runs a horse called Maze Runner, who was third in the Irish Cesarewitch, and he won a big 3-mile handicap hurdle at Fairyhouse in February. He's now £10 higher than that mark, but we know he stays and he'll be fit and well. Now, probably the pick of Gordon Elliott 7 Duffelcoat, who's unbeaten in 4 starts over hurdles, is a dual-purpose performer, and his victories include a Grade 2 at Cheltenham last season, and also a horse called Sassy Yet Classy, who won a Punchestown 3-mile handicap hurdle in November and has gone up £8, but won it in pretty good style. However, there are a number of horses that take on Sassy Yet Classy on the revised terms, and one of them is my selection, and that one is called The Name Escapes Me, and it's trained by a very old friend of this channel, Noel Mead, he of Jeff Kidder fame, and Mark Walsh is going to be on board, this one running in the colours of JP McManus, who, as I mentioned, has 3 in total in the race. Now, this The Name Escapes Me is a veteran. He's an 11-year-old, rising 12, but he's maintained his form and his handicap mark has barely budged over the last few seasons. He's run really well in a series of hot handicap hurdles, including this race last year. Now, this race last year was won by Flooring Porter, who, of course, went on to stun everybody at the Cheltenham Festival in Stayers Hurdle. And Flooring Porter was the winner, but third 12 months ago was The Name Escapes Me. And The Name Escapes Me was running a marvellous race there when you look back in hindsight, trying to mix it almost 2 or 3 pounds difference with the subsequent Grade 1 winner, Flooring Porter. Now, on his reappearance, he ran in that race won by Sassy Yet Classy last month. And he was picking up really well coming into the home straight, looking as if he was going to be very much involved, when a horse took an absolute pearl of a fall right in front of him, badly hampered him, almost brought him to a standstill. Yet remarkably, despite a very competitive race, he stayed on strongly again after the last to finish 4th of the 20 runners behind Sassy Yet Classy. And he's now £7 better off for 5 lengths with the winner. I think he may well be able to turn it around. This is a race in which he's run well 12 months ago to be third. JP McManus, I think this is the kind of price that he'll always be interested in. Of course, Irish racing, they don't tend to price up early, unfortunately, as they do with the British racing. They're always wary of the bookies. So a real kudos here to William Hills, who not for the first time are the only firm going up early to test the market. And they're offering 12 to 1, which may or may not prove to be value. We'll find out once the other firms start to move in and start to play, probably at the end of racing on Friday and into Saturday morning. So 12 to 1 each way. I expect it could go bigger, and I'm sure they'll be playing up to 6 or even 7 places. So do shop around in this 23-runner handicap hurdle. Navan 108, The Name Escapes Me for Noel Mead and Mark Walsh. And then across the water, back to the West Coast, Aintree. The 240 race is my second selection. The Beecher Handicap Chase over the Grand National Fences. It's always a great spectacle, 3 1/4 miles. And there are 22 runners on what is basically soft ground. And as always in any race over the national fences, even though, of course, they're not as testing as they used to be, luck in running really is required. Now, joint favourites at the time I'm talking to you are Mac Totty, who's trained by Peter Bowen, trainer with a wonderful record over the Beecher Chase and Grand Sefton races over the national fences. And this one won the Grand Sefton here in November over 2 miles 5. Has 5 furlongs further to travel and has gone up £7, but clearly is at home on the track. And the other joint favourite at around 6 to 1 is Charlie Longston's Snow Leopardess, who will stay. She was 4th over 3 3/4 miles, keeping on in the National Hunt Chase at Cheltenham in March. And she won a 3-mile handicap chase at Bangor on her reappearance, has gone up £5. She is, however, tackling Grand National fences, the spruce fences, for the very first time. Now, Lucinda Russell, who has shown very good form with the big winner, Ahoy Senor, down at Newbury last weekend. Her Mighty Thunder won the Scottish National last season, has gone up £6, but he made a good reappearance at Wetherby in the Charlie Hall at Grade 2. So essentially, this is a dropping class for him. He's back to 3 miles. It's certainly stay, but will he be quick enough? Now, a very interesting runner here is Kimberlite Candy, who's very sparely raced. Runs for JP McManus, Tom Lacey trains, and he's been second in the race for each of the last 2 years. Last year, finishing second to Vieux Lion Rouge, who will also take his chance again and is another Aintree fence specialist. Kimberlite Candy off the track for 238 days, but he always goes well fresh. And indeed, he's £3 lower than when he was second in the race last year to Vieux Lion Rouge. For Island Chris's Dream is very interesting for Henry de Bromhead, a very classy horse. He was still going well in the Grand National when unseating at the fourth last in April. So that touch of class, despite top weight, could take him very close. One I very nearly put up here is an outsider for Sandy Thompson called Hill 16. Now, he's got each way possibilities at big odds around 25 to 1. But in the end, I just have come down on the side of a horse called ACHILLE, who is trained by Venetia Williams and is the mount of Charlie Deutsch. They, of course, who teamed up last weekend for that tremendous success at 33 to 1 in the Old Hennessy Gold Cup. Brilliant piece of training by Venetia, who is just fantastic with her staying chasers. Now, this one also, he's no spring chicken. He's an 11-year-old ACHILLE, but he isn't heavily raced. And he is an older horse. And older horses have done really very well in this race over the last decade, including, of course, Vieux Lion Rouge 12 months ago, an 11-year-old. But also Oscar Time won it in 2014 when a 13-year-old, and a great old favourite of mine won it in 2012. I wonder how many of you remember Nigel Twiston-Davis's Hello Bud. He was 14 years old when he won this race in 2012. So a race that does seem to suit the strong, sort of really wizened older warriors. Now, ACHILLE, although he's rising 12 years old now, he's only had 26 races in total in his career. He's had a number of periods where he's been off the track. He missed 2 years between November 15 to November 17. He's been ultra consistent since 2019 when he won three-mile handicap chases. And last season, second on his reappearance in the Grade 3 over nearly 3.5 miles at Cheltenham to West Approach. He missed 14 months and then he came back to be beat just half a length in the 3-mile 5-furlong classic chase at Warwick. That was a very, very good effort. And he was also second to Lord de Menil in the Grade 3 Haydock Grand National Trial, just beaten half a length. So he's a horse who goes well fresh, who stays well. He's a very sound jumper. His last run came when he was 6 of 20 in the Midlands Grand National, staying on at Uttoxeter last March. He's been off since then, 259 days. But if he takes to these fences, and of course you just never know, but if he doesn't, I'm sure Venetia will have schooled him over national fences. Remember, of course, she won the Grand National with 100 to 1 shot Mon Mome back in the day. Then I think this horse has a big chance off 141 because he is classy. Top team, obviously in great form with that huge win at Newbury last week. And at 16 to 1 each way, with Sky Bet at the time of this recording offering 7 places, others going 16 to 1 for 5 or 6 places. ACHILLE is my selection, just preferred to Hill 16 in what to me looks a very open renewal of the Beecher Chase at Aintree at 240. I'll move on quickly to the Sandown 3 o'clock race. Now, this is 3 miles, 5 furlongs, the London National, they call it. 10 runners go to post. It's good ground. And Christian Williams has a horse in very good form here called Strictly a Dancer, who's on a 4-timer. He's been improving all the time. He's gone up £7 for his latest win at Haydock. He'll be a big danger if he stays the extra 4 furlongs. That's the question mark for me, as well as him going up the weights as well. Is he improving fast enough to keep the handicapper at bay? Now, Gary Moore does well at Sandown. He's got a horse called Larry, who won at Ascot actually last time out in a handicap chase over 3 miles. He's gone up £6, but he ran over this course and distance in the Bet 365 Gold Cup in April, the old Whitbread Gold Cup, and he seemed to run out of puff to me in the closing stages. Whether it was at the end of a locked season contributing to that, I don't know. But because of that, I can't have Larry. Disha Abba runs in the colours of the late Trevor Hemmings. Philip Hobbs trains. He will stay, I think. And he was a good second, just beating a Nectar Kashari at Aintree in a 3-mile handicap hurdle last month. And that should have sharpened him up very nicely for this. But my choice here is called Christmas in April. And it's trained by Colin Tizard in the West Country in the mount of Brendan Powell, a horse who won the 2020 Sussex National over 3.5 miles on soft ground. He won the Devon National over 3 3/4 miles on heavy ground of 129. So clearly acts well in the mud. But He also won the 2021 Newton Abbot 3¼ mile handicap chase on good ground, so shows that he can operate at a shorter trip and on a decent surface. And he ran very well after 6 months off, finishing second at Carlisle over 3¼ miles to a horse called Hold That Taut, keeping on very well in the closing stages. And I think that will have him spot on for this race. I think he's got a really big chance. And he'll stay. He's only a 9-year-old. He's only gone up £1 for the Carlisle run. To me, he looked absolutely rock solid each way pick. And 8-1, the best odds offered. 4 places offered by Sky Bet, 3 places at the moment with others. So 8-1, Christmas in April at Sandown in the 3 o'clock on Saturday. And then for my final choice, I'm back at Aintree, the 3:15, their last race after a very early start at Aintree Saturday, is a 2.5 mile handicap hurdle, 15 runners, softish ground. Now, really unusually for what is a very competitive handicap hurdle, 9 of the last 10 winners of this race have all been 5-1 or less. So it really is a race that on the stats, as old Big Mac used to say, the stats don't lie, but the stats suggest that you wouldn't want to look at anything bigger than 5-1, but I am, because that's the way I work. There are only 3 horses in that category of 5-1 or less. On the early odds, Tamar Bridge for Ollie Murphy, who's an unexposed horse, won 3 from 4 starts, first time in a handicap of 128, won at Wetherby. Midnight River for Dan Skelton, who's a really classy sort, but has tipped up the last twice, once over hurdles, once over fences. So maybe a confidence issue there. And a horse called Pounding Poet for Tom Lacey, who's won its last 2, gone up £14. Good second to Mackleduff over the course and distance on its reappearance. There's also an old favourite of mine who goes well at this track, lovely grey called Cateson, trained by Alster Rolfe, forecasted around 8-1. That one's a danger. But I'm really going for one that is the type of horse that I've put up in the past, and people have probably looked at me and thought, are you mad? It's the type of a Jeff Kidder, it's the type of a Yorkhill. The figures don't, really back it up when you look at the bare black and white. But when you maybe go a bit deeper, I make a case here for a horse called Ballyandy, trained by Nigel Twiston-Davies, who won this race in 2016. And he's ridden by a kid who's only ever ridden one winner under rules, called Finn Lambert, and he claims £10. Believe me, Nigel Twiston-Davies doesn't put mugs up on his horses. This kid must be able to ride. He has had a winner, and that £10 claim could prove very valuable for a horse who's been a wonderful servant for the stable, a winner of 8 of his 34 starts. Now, only 12 months ago, Ballyandy was second to the Shunter in the Greatwood Handicap Hurdle at Cheltenham. The Shunter went on to win a host of big races, including at Cheltenham. And yet Ballyandy was trying to concede him £26 and was only beaten 3 lengths into second. That shows what a good horse Ballyandy was just 12 months ago. Even after that, he finished third off a mark of 157 to Song for Someone in the Grade 2 International Hurdle last December at Cheltenham. And then he was third in the Grade 1 Christmas Hurdle, no less, at Kempton. After that, a series of poor runs. And again, this season, just not appearing to be firing. He's come down the weights. He's run up Fosslas, ran again in the Greatwood Hurdle. He's already been allowed £11 this season. So essentially, when you count the fact that he's dropped down the weights and that Finn Lambert is claiming £10, he's effectively running off a mark of 130. Now, that is £27 lower than when he only just failed to give all that weight to the Shunter at Cheltenham last season, and when he finished a very good third in the international hurdle. Now, of course, the big question mark here for this horse is, has he gone at the game? Is there a problem? The fact is, they haven't put blinkers on him. They haven't put a visor on him. They haven't put cheek pieces on him. They haven't put a tongue tie on. So clearly there doesn't appear to be a breathing issue, and they don't think his concentration is going. Maybe there's just been an issue at home. Maybe they've been struggling to sweeten him up. But off this weight in this company, much lower than he's tackled in the past. He has to be worth a sporting chance, because if Ballyandy comes back to within a stone of his old form, he's thrown in here. On the other hand, he could just have gone at the game. He could just be ready for retirement. That's it. But I think at 25 to 1 each way, a horse who was running in the Christmas hurdle just over 11 months ago, finishing third in a Grade 1, running now off 130, I'm prepared to take a chance. 25 to 1 each way with Paddy Power, Betfair and Bet Victor, and he would have beaten this lot senseless 12 months ago. We'll see. Maybe it's the heart ruling the head, but sometimes you've got to go with your heart. We'll see what happens. So that's Ballyandy, my final selection, Saturday in the Aintree 3:15. Consider these. You may or may not agree. Remember to check out those I've tipped at shorter odds, more to the head of the market over at freebets.com. Whatever happens, remember it's a marathon we're playing here. It's not week to week. We're looking at the whole season, the whole year, in order to try and make a profit. And whatever happens, I'm back same time next week with my selections here at Sportsbet TV. So from me, Paul Alster, have a great weekend. Bye-bye for now.